Hello.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Right.
We're definitely going to try to make an agreement today
Yes.
as best as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Both of our clients have wants and needs that they are requiring from each of us, so hopefully we can get through this without any too much of a problem.
And ease, because, you always want to do is what's in the best interest of the children, and,
Right.
they
Make
want
this as smooth for everybody as
quick as
possible.
possible.
For you, me, and our clients.
All right.
Okay. So, do you want to start off by telling me what your client is looking for?
Yeah, so I have a few major issues that I think that my client has told me about that he would like to discuss. The first being their current house, their vacation home, their household items, antiques, alimony, their custody between child time, and their child support.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So does my client, and I think we should go through each of them separately and then see how it works out in the end, and hopefully.
All right, so let's do a neutral zone. I think our first good one should be the vacation home.
Yeah.
That's located in West Virginia. This home is really dear to my client and I guess the family because they would go there. This home has recently, my client has done a lot of work to the home. So he feels that, it'd be okay if we could keep it, but, he put a lot of work in it, so he doesn't want to just waste it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, my client believes that the vacation home was really your client's idea in the first place. And she thinks it's, honestly, at this point, a very good value that it's something that, yes, the children do appreciate and have a good time at, but at the same time, I think in the situation that they're in right now, it's better off for them to sell it and get the funds from it, and they would split that equally, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think even though your client put a lot of work into it, I think it would pay off for both of them in the long run to get the funds and the outcome rather than keeping it.
Sorry, my client. But yeah, I mean, if they do decide to sell the home, my client has a few. He has gone out and he's spoken to a realtor, and he thinks that he can solidly get the home for upwards of $1 million, so close to $1 million or just under $1 million. So if they decided to sell that home, I mean, it is dear to his heart, and it is a lot of time that they'd like to spend in the summer months, but he doesn't want to have this big investment really prevent him from not having his business anymore. So if he doesn't have an income like this coming in, it's his business is on the line. That's then your client's on the line because he can't pay for them for child support and alimony. So I think in the best interest of both of our clients, we sell this home.
I agree. I think my client also sought out a realtor, and they said about the same amount as you would. Her realtor told her that they would probably get, there was an 80% chance that they would get $1 million, and then something along the lines of that, nothing less than at least $800,000.
Yeah, and so I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge on homes, but I mean, if he did put a lot of money into the home, kitchen wise and renovating it, then I think they can probably go top dollar. So
yeah, I think they could definitely get the $1 million.
And because this is a home that they both came in together with, they could split $500,000 each.
Right. So, okay. So I think that works out well for both of our clients. It's a good income for them to both start off their new chapter in their lives with. So we'll just put that hypothetically, they would both get $500,000 from the home. About. So let's say $450,000 to $500,000 each.
Sure. And that could go towards anything they wish.
Right. Okay. The next issue that I would like to talk about is their primary home that they live in. I think my client really does love this home, and that's where the children grew up. And I think as the situation permits that the children are already going to be dealing with a lot with the divorce, that we should be able to keep the house and just figure out things inside, like household goods, stuff like that. But if your client is willing to let my client keep the home, that would be ideal for her because of the the school neighborhood that they're in and their children's friends. She doesn't want to take them out of that situation at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that my client really, really would benefit, and so would the children, from staying in that home.
Now, which is definitely, I mean, best interest of the children, but currently my client has expressed to me that he's living in a 2-room apartment,
Right.
So he thinks there'll be a struggle with the children as they grow older, because, they're different ages, different sexes, and things like that. It's just, privacy-wise, and if he's going to be presumably still being in the child's life a substantial amount, he would like to know if you, because you don't use the entire house anymore, would be willing to sell the home and then still live in the area of the same school district or something along those lines, so that we can all move into the same community or area, and then the kids won't have such a huge adjustment. And then that'd be income for the two of us, both of our clients again, because we brought that property together when they were married.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
For speaking logistics here, I think that yes, I agree that your client would probably need to find another place to live for the long run, but I think for the situation that they're in, it would really benefit the children, who are, of course, their top priority, to stay in their home. So if we could figure something out, maybe through other parts of the negotiation that we have to get through, maybe some give and take with that, because I'd really like to keep my client in that home that she has now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, I mean, it is a large home with a lot of work to put into it and take care of it and upkeeping, but my client is also the primary caretaker of these children, and I think for her purposes, it's better off if they stay in this home rather than uprooting their whole lives and having to completely change everything they have known all their lives.
Mm-hmm. I think because the vacation home, they're going to be selling that vacation home.
Yeah, I think that's a good amount of money that they both will be making.
And they can put towards other parts of their, their lives. Maybe in the long run, I can speak to my client and see if maybe just for the meantime, until either the kids, turn up age, or his business goes booming, that's something they can discuss when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
But, I
think for now,
for
the
right
best
now,
decision is for the children to stay in that home.
Okay.
If there's a way that your client could go about getting another home another way.
Now, would you be willing for my client, if he was able to help you find another home? Would you want to maybe express that to your client in the long run? That for right now, they'll stay in the home that they are living in, but if my client takes a time out to help you, because you have a lot of things going on right now, to be able to,
help me or my client in what way?
And helping them find another place to live in the neighborhood, if it's, in the long, later down the road.
You mean helping just, in what way?
Like
financially, or?
Not financially, in finding a home and helping them move out and things like that,
Honestly, I don't think that would be necessary,
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't think my client needs that help from your client. But,
Why? Because it's a boyfriend? Does your client have a boyfriend?
No, she does not.
No boyfriend? Not even that little friend that always hangs out around the kids?
No.
And no?
I don't see, not that I know of, no.
No?
I have no knowledge of that. And I don't think there has been any situations that I've been aware of that have made the children or anybody else uncomfortable. I think everything has been going smoothly, and both of our clients have been acting like adults as much as they could.
All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch on that. That's something that they need to
on their own. I mean,
face.
that's not legal issues that we need to get into.
No. But yeah, okay. So we'll stay in the current home because we were able to sell the other home to make a profit.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get the top dollar that we can from that home. So we will make sure our realtors stick to their guns and get that house for $1 million or more.
Mm-hmm, and they can both use it towards their own businesses.
And your client could use that money. Your client definitely does not need a large home like the one that they live in now.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, I mean, I think he could definitely find something in the neighborhood for less than $500,000, which he would be getting from the prior vacation home.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is just something temporary for him, so, maybe down the line he'll be able to move, or they can figure something else out. Maybe Angela will come to terms and say, this house is really just getting too much for me, but right now...
As of right now, I think we should keep it this way.
Oh, okay. let's move on to another topic regarding the home.
Okay.
My client has a lot of antiques that he claims Angela always said was they were ugly and she never liked them. He has a lot of interest in the 18th century armoire that's in the home that he'd like to now put in his apartment. It's something that he just absolutely adores and loves and wants to keep.
I don't see any problem with that. My client didn't express any interest in that piece, so you can definitely keep that. My client would definitely like to keep the dining room set for herself in the home, and to pass on to the children someday. I think she thinks it's a really great set, and it's something that she could use for a long time and for years to come.
That's two things that we can have them each keep, but then there's lots of other things in the home that I know that my client says that Angela does not like or, told him to always be getting rid of. So we were wondering if your client would be willing to go with Robert and go around the home and find things that they would like to sell and put into a pile, and then they could take those items and split them down the middle, a profit, and they could both walk away with it. We don't know the prices of these items. He doesn't really know. We could get them appraised. These can be, millions of dollars. They can be, hundreds of dollars. But it's something to really think about because that can be make or break for a lot of
I think I could definitely talk to my client about that. I know she did express that there are some pieces that she's not very connected to at all. I think if you're things that your client would like to keep when they go around the home and find things, then that's fine. But maybe he could pay her half of what they cost or something. Have everything in the house get appraised and see how much everything is worth, and then maybe for whatever he wants to take, he could give her half of what the actual cost is.
Well, what if instead of doing that, whatever they want to sell, that will then counteract the cost of him taking it? Because if in reality, if they bought them, if she's keeping some things and he's keeping other things, like they've brought that in together, so he wouldn't want. I don't think my client would want any money from her. So if whatever they just put in that pile of they want to sell, that would be enough to just split in half.
Yeah, I think we should speak to our clients about this, see what they really want to do, because my client didn't express any other very explicit concerns to me besides the dining room set.
As well as the one with the armor.
So I think allowing them to come to a decision about what to do exactly about the household goods, definitely, I think, advising them to get the appraisal of everything, get the value of everything, let your client pick what he wants, let my client pick whatever she wants to keep. Because then again, she still is going to be living in this home with the children, so it can't just be a bare house. That will be very happy for them. So, she's obviously going to need to put new furniture in, so that also costs money. So, hopefully, they could, yes, I agree that somehow whatever they sell, she could get the profit from. But basically, if they could get, an even balancing of the cost of everything, whatever he keeps or whatever she keeps, I think that'll work out well.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to pay her, but I think from whatever, it has to be an equal value of what they sell and what he takes, so that she could get the profit from something, so that she could refurnish the home. I think that would actually work out well. I think it'll be good for them, good for my client, good for the children, maybe to refresh the home a little bit, change things up a little bit, since their life will be changing in a substantial way from their father not living with them anymore.
And then, we can get it appraised. We can always come back, and we can have the clients, discuss it then. Once we have everything, put into different piles and what they want to take.
Yeah, I think that works.
But for right now, I think that's something good that we can bring back to them.
Okay, yes, I agree.
Now, I think another thing going along with, the kids is their time that they're going to be having together.
Right.
This is something that's so devastating for them, and obviously they have lots of emotions going into it. But Robert he doesn't have the time to put fully into being a parent for them, so he can't take them the whole week, maybe during the school week, but maybe on the weekends. That works best for him because he's very busy during the weekday. Would your client be willing to do that?
Well, our client's already agreed that my client is definitely going to be the primary caretaker. When the kids were first really born, she had already taken off of work, and she wasn't working for a while, and then she started up her business, which is still developing, and she's working on very hardly, but she still has, especially during this time where the kids are going to be transitioning from the divorce. She wants to make sure that she's with them during the week and on weekends, just because she thinks it's even more important for them to be together now than any other time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my client should get the weekdays, but I think there's also time that she needs to herself during this time. So I think she'll definitely be able to have them during the week. And if your client wants to do every other weekend, because my client still does want some weekend time for laid-back time with the children to do activities and things like that, because the school week is so difficult and hectic. Mm-hmm. So maybe other weekend would work for your client. You could speak to him about that, but I think that's a good decision to be made.
And I agree. And then my client also says that he sometimes some days are free time for him. So would you be willing for him to call up your client and say, hey, when we pick up the kids from school and bring them to practice, like I have free time, or take them out to dinner?
Yeah, I think that's fine. My client basically just wants for your weekends to be definite, and your client can't fall back on those, because my client has very limited time to herself. So if that's definite, then that's fine. If there's days, since we are in the same neighborhood, our clients are in the same neighborhood, they're going to be around each other a lot. If he has time off, I think that's great. Then that's more time for my client to be working part-time, as she's going to be. Mm-hmm. So I think that works out well.
I think another big thing would be the holidays that these kids will be having. My client would really, really like to have at least a week's time when he goes for holidays, because he would like to take them to see their grandparents in Vermont.
Okay.
I don't know where, Angela's parents live, but, there's two sets of grandparents. Some big holidays, which I've listed down, are like Christmas week, New Year's week, Thanksgiving week, and the 4th of July.
Right.
Those are like big holidays, different seasons of the year.
Yeah. My client feels that, because none of her family lives very in the immediate area, so for holidays, she really doesn't want to be left alone for them. Mm-hmm. So I think for Christmas is definitely a big one for her. Like, she'd like to have the kids for Christmas if your client doesn't mind. Big ones like that. Other things, but the week is fine, because I don't see an issue with that, because my client has the kids the majority of the time. So if there's a week or two that your client wants, that works. So you said 1 week for the holidays?
Yeah, I'm thinking a big week in the holiday, I think, would be like the 4th of July week, so then we can take them away.
Right, because the children don't have off during Thanksgiving week. And I want Christmas.
Yeah, they only have 3 days for Thanksgiving break, usually, so it wouldn't be worth for me to, take them out of school, and it wouldn't be worth for me to only have them for, that 3 day in the weekend, so I think that we could do that, and I can always, on the next weekend have a nice Thanksgiving dinner with them.
Right, I agree. And there's another week that you want, correct, you said?
Yeah, I'm going to try to take off maybe, 2-3 weeks out of the year, so I'll have the 1 week for Christmas week and then 2 weeks for regular vacation time. That can be whenever, I don't know.
It'll just have to be when the kids are off of school.
All off of school, so, it could be in the summer, it could be, if they have a nice, maybe a spring break.
Right. Or February break, I think.
February break. So
President's Week or something.
Something like that. Just something that they could have. He could have, 1 week to bring up to the grandparents and 2 weeks on vacation time.
You want 3 weeks total
3
with
weeks
the children?
Total with the children.
Okay. For the whole year. And every other weekend. Mm-hmm. For visitation rights. Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds great. I think that works out very well. Your client just has to keep up his end. Like, he can't fall off on weekends. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just because my client has very limited time to herself, and I'll have Christmas, and you'll have. Do you want to do anything about the other holidays, or?
I mean, Thanksgiving you can have, because your client can have, and maybe I can express to my client that if it's not on Thanksgiving Day, what if.
I could have them Thanksgiving Day. My client could have them Thanksgiving Day, and yours could have them the rest of the weekend or something like that.
If it so happens to fall on the weekend, my client gets them. Then
that's fine.
You can do Thanksgiving on a different day. He can have dinner with them.
Okay.
Or whatever.
That works out well. I think those are the major holidays: Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, that works out well. So, should we try to get into child support and alimony?
I think we should first address the big elephant in the room, which is the loan that happened between Angela and Angela's parents and my client.
Right.
Before we get into anything else, because that kind of falls back on a lot of things.
Right.
So my client is very adamant about the fact that the loan was a gift from Angela's parents to him, and that it was even a verbal. They have expressed verbally that this was a gift, and that Angela supposedly does not think that it was a gift.
Yes, my client believes that her parents only did this act of kindness for Angela and her family, so that someday that this company, when they were as a family, when they were together, that it could blossom and work out for all of them in the long run. I don't think that her parents' intentions were to just support him if he was going to go off on his own. And I think the correct thing to do, either way, if it was a gift or not, I think to cut all ties or to be even at the end of the day, I think your client, over whatever period of time that it is, should pay back the parents. It doesn't have to go to my client. It should both go back to the parents. So I think that's something that we really should talk. I think that's really adamant, and my client really believes that that's what her parents' intentions were for the loan. And I think it's really just morally the right thing to do to pay them back over time, because your client really won't be having any interactions or connections with them from now on since the divorce is happening, and I think that's just the way it should be, since your client's business is doing pretty well.
I mean, he's been just very adamant about the fact that he honestly assumes that this is a gift, because although it wasn't given, he believes it wasn't given from a marital standpoint. It was given to him to then help his business and to also help, in the long run, their grandchildren and, his, at that point, wife, because when the loan was given to them, Angela's business hadn't, started up yet, so it was pretty much the primary reason. So it was a gift for Robert to then give back to everybody else. But I mean, Robert has said that he would like it to be a gift, but if it comes down to the fact that your client is so adamant about not giving, not having this be a gift, that he'd pay back the money. He has already given Angela and his parents $10,000. So that leaves $40,000 in question of what we're going to do with that money.
Right. I really think my client wants this money to be paid back to her parents. I think it's something that she's very adamant about. I don't see there being a problem with paying back the $40,000 over time, over years. I think that's a reasonable deal. I don't see, if your client is willing to do that, I think that's the right thing to do for the situation. I think it's to pay back the parents. And there's also the investment that our clients went in together for that company of your client, which was $100,000, and so basically $50,000 of that was my client's money because they did it jointly. So I don't know if your client wants to pay that back, or if it wants to, instead of paying it back, giving more towards alimony or something like that. I feel like because there was such an investment, I don't think the company could be where it is today without my client's contributions and her parents' contributions.
I think that the best thing we could do is, I'll talk to my client, but he's expressed to me that he needs a substantial amount of time to pay back this loan to the grandparents. He's given to me that he would do it in under 10 years. He can pay back that loan.
The $40,000
loan within 10 years.
Okay, so can we say 9 years?
Yeah, let's say roughly 10 to 9 years,
Okay. I just want to have it so when we write up the agreement.
Sure. So let's say 9 years.
Okay, so I think let me see, do the calculations. 40,000 over 9 years is $4,444 a year to the grandparents. Okay. I think that works out well.
And my client's also very adamant that he can then put this money directly into their bank account. It doesn't go through Angela to them.
That's totally fine.
Because,
I think my client just thinks that beyond the actual financials of it, just the principle of the thing, that if it's not to her, then to her parents, either way, it should be paid back. I think for the $90,000, my client would really like her share of it back, which is really So basically, what your client owes my client from the investment into the company from her parents and herself is a $90,000 loan. If it was from a bank, your client would have to pay that back no matter what. Mm-hmm. So I think the fact that is, I think it should really be taken into account. If your client isn't going to pay that back in full, mm-hmm. it definitely has to go towards alimony because my client's going to be doing everything for the children. Mm-hmm. And I think she really needs the money a lot more than your client does, and your client wouldn't be where he is today without my client's contributions.
Mm-hmm. I just want to, the clients have been married since 2006. Since 2003. In 2006, they made this company. So I'm thinking at this point, she gave the loan for, she gave him $50,000 to start it up.
Right.
But I think that she's been over time, the past 11 years, benefiting from the fact that this, benefiting from the business.
I'm sorry, the business you said it was opened 11 years ago?
In 2011, they started the business. So over the past couple years, since 2011 when they opened up the business, Yeah, in 2011, they opened up the business, and Angela opened up her business in 2013.
Right.
So in that time between 2011 and 2017, when they were starting to part ways, Angela has been making, not making the money back in full, but she's been gaining from this
I understand,
profit.
just from their family
living dynamic, because up until only until 2013, so for those 2 years, and maybe even a little more after that, until the business started to do well for Angela, she was benefiting from the business. So she was kind of making her money back in other and untangible ways, through food and clothes and gifts from him, vacations, things like that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So we could cut that number of 90,000 down. So how many years was it since the business opened? It was opened in 2011. It's now 2017. So that's 6 years. Mm-hmm. So I say we could cut that number in half to 45,000, and then we could, I feel like since you're definitely paying back the grandparents, we could probably figure out to allocate this 45,000 towards alimony if you want to do it in that way or something. My client thinks your client maybe should even sell his business and could pay her back that way.
This is something that he's, he'd have no other job. This is his life. He can't, so much so that he couldn't even spend weeks' time with his children. He doesn't want to have to sell the business and work for somebody else and not make as much money, especially during the times where they're now getting divorced and there's tons of things that are going on and he has to pay child support. He would really like to be able to keep this business so that in the long run, Angela, through alimony, and his children through child support will benefit greatly from it.
Okay. I just want to make it a point that my client either wants to get this 45,000, now 45,000 that I brought it down to that number. It was originally 90. 45,000 back, or get paid back enough in alimony so that if she had never given that 50,000 to your client, that she would still have it. Somehow she wants to get paid back over time, over something, so that she doesn't feel the burden of that 50,000 that she could have had.
Now, do you think it's only going to, in reality, in 3 years, you really only think it's going to be $45,000? Only $5,000 she was really benefiting from the business.
What do you mean 5,000?
Well, if she gave $50,000 and you brought it down to only $45,000, you think in those 3 years she only have gained an untangible amount of money.
Well, I'm sorry, I was getting that 45 off of the 90, but we could actually estimate that 40,000 because you will be paying that back over 9 years. So, the 40,000 is going to be paid back over 9 years to the grandparents. I bring mine down to 25,000. Mm-hmm. So, would your client be willing to pay that back over a couple of years, or?
I think we can try to figure that out through child support and alimony, because I think that in the long run we can get some type of, she won't have too much of a loss, my client won't have too much of a loss, and to the point where she might even be gaining from this through alimony and child support.
All right, I hope that would work out great. I hope that's what we could agree on with alimony and child support. So let's come back to this number of my clients' investment into the company.
Sure.
Let's go through alimony and child support next, so that we can figure out those numbers. So what is your client thinking for child support and alimony? I know my client definitely needs to. It's very important to my client because my client isn't just from the fact that she isn't able to work as much as your client does. She already has that disadvantage because she's taking care of the children majority of 95% of the time compared to your client, and that's why your client is able to make the money that he makes. And there's just no way that my client could ever compare to that amount, just specifically because she's taking care of his children. So I think that's something that we should both really take into consideration, that the alimony and child support should really reflect that in the amount that we come up with.
Sure. All right. So, my client would like to know if you would like to start somewhere around, let's say, 3% of his salary towards alimony a year for several years.
Look, I'm not trying to be blunt or anything, but this day and age, 3% of your client's salary is never going to be enough to support the two children in the lifestyle that they're living now. And I think both of our clients want to keep them in the same living lifestyle that they've had always. I think we could start at maybe we at least need to start talking at 5%. I can't even talk about 3%.
Okay, so 5%.
My client honestly doesn't want to take anything less than 10% of your client's salary. I think that's not even a lot to be asking for because of, I don't know if you would disclose this information to me, but what is your client, are we disclosing what our client's salaries are? I don't have a problem telling you what my client's salary is.
I think
at this point, we have to. We don't have any other choice.
So I think my client makes $100,000 a year from his business.
My client makes $25,000. So my client only makes a quarter of what your client makes in a year, which is a huge, huge difference. I think that your client's money should be going, if anywhere, to his children, which are the most important part of his life. So, let's say 10% of your client's salary is $10,000 in alimony, right?
But would you be willing to meet somewhere around 7?
I honestly, I just don't think that's, not that I don't want to, it's just that I just don't think realistically it's enough money to support the children. I think my client would really be struggling with just that amount of money.
Would you go to 8%? We're getting a lot here. So we're splitting this house. We're whatever money we're getting from these antiques. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Our children their children are 9 and 12. In 6 years, the first child's going to be 18, and in 9 years, the second child's going to be 18. So we're talking less than a decade. But child support is very expensive in Ohio.
Just 1 second, I just want to do one calculation. Sorry. The least I could take is 8%. I can't go any lower than 8%.
Now, if we went for 8%, let's see if we can figure out. I'm going to do this math really quickly. 8% alimony. Actually, I have an online source that I can show you if you'd like to see it.
Okay.
I went onto the Ohio Child Support calculations. I went through everything. I'm going to just put in really quickly both of our clients' annual incomes.
Okay.
All right, so it comes out to around $13,000 for child support. annually.
Okay. I mean, I think
I'm at fault. $15,000 annually, because this will include health insurance.
right. Okay. So how much is that? So, I think a good 15,000 is an okay number. But I think we could do what about 15,700? Is that
For child support.
for child support?
I mean, here, yeah, it says $15,700.10 is what the annual amount is for those who make both.
So that would be
And also making the mother the primary caretaker. So it would be a split.
I think that would be around
So per child would be
$78.50 per year. So that's how much per month? Let's see. I'm just gonna do the 15,700 divided by 12. So that's $1,300 a month. So that's around $650 a kid per month in child support. That's the basic needs of the child: the insurance, healthcare, things like that.
Okay.
I think that would work for child support. So we
and then after the first child turns 18, we're then gonna bring this down to 4%.
So well, wait. That's for the alimony. We're talking about child support.
Oh, for child support.
So this is what we're gonna do, if this works for you. The child support total for both children until the first child, Robert Jr., turns 18, which he's 12 now, so that'll be in 6 years, will be $15,700 for 6 years.
Okay.
And then once he's off, then we'll do child support for the
one child.
For the one child, Sally, until she is 18, which would be, so as of the 7th year from this year, it'll only be $78.50 for the one child.
For the one child.
Right. Also, I just want to make sure that this reflects that the alimony reflects the. We'll talk about that after. Never mind. Does that work for you?
So total, through the 9 years, we're talking how much?
You want me to do it over time?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't have these numbers.
15,700 times 6. That's until Robert Jr. is 18, and that's $94,200. Then plus $7,850 times 3, right? Till she's 18. That would come to $117,750.
Okay. All right. I think this is a fair alimony and child support.
I agree. I think that's just the
child support.
I think that's a good number. I mean, I don't think you could go much less than that. So I think that's a good deal for your client.
Yes. And then in the event that you're, now we'll go back. Now we're going to go to alimony. I think this is where we have a little, because this is the law. We need to follow the law. But alimony is something that we can agree with between two parties.
Yes. For alimony, I think my client deserves 10%. I think she's doing a lot. I just think logistics, 10% is a good way to go about, so that she could get back on her feet, work on her business, and continue to take care of the children. I just think that at this day and age, something like around that number is a good number.
10% is a lot. 10% is unrealistic for his amount of money. I mean, for the amount of money he's making.
But then again, you have to look at what my client's making, and it's nowhere near enough to support 2 children.
And then I'm thinking in the long run, what if your client's business does well? What if, you know what I'm saying? It must be doing, well.
But it's going to be a very slow process if it gets better, because my client has very limited time to put into it. You know what I'm saying? Because she's taking care of the children. So it's like almost 75% slower than your client's working. She's working only 25% of the time that your client is working, if you think about it, because she's only working very, very short hours and part-time.
What if I go somewhere, I'm thinking like 5% really in alimony of my salary, which is $5,000 per child. I mean, $5,000, per year.
I mean, I need to do more than that. My client won't agree to that number.
What if we went somewhere in the middle, around 7?
Look, because my client wants to get this done in a short amount of time without issues going back and forth, so we could really make an agreement today, I think 8% is as low as I could go, and that's that.
Now, I think, yeah, okay, so if we went 8%, bargaining integratively, I think that this alimony, it's, if we do it, like, say, 6 years, 7 years,
Yeah.
This alimony and the child support and everything totally counteracts that amount of money that we're going to be owing back to this loan.
I think
so if 7
years of alimony is a good number.
Okay.
To make up for that. I still won't be paying back my client the $50,000 that she put into the
full,
company.
but it'll be enough to counteract. Alimony is really just to fill in the amount of money that she'd be losing from my client's, salary and being in the home.
Well, before we get to that, yes, exactly, I agree. Before we get to the loan part of it, I think we should is 8% for now. Is 8% a year is something that you can agree to?
Yes, I mean it's a lot more than my client would like to spend,
and it's less than what my client would like to get in return. So I think it's a give and take here. I mean,
all right, 8%.
Okay, so 8%. That's great. Thank you. 8% would be $8,000 a year. So that's $4,000 per child. So in alimony, and I think that over 7 years works.
7 years, because technically we really only need it for 9 years, because after they both turn 18, I no longer have to pay alimony or child support.
Right. So let's see how much this would be.
So if we did, 5.5, 6, maybe 6 years, I think.
I think if we're okay,
it gets to the point where maybe both children will be 16 at least. And they can, if they wanted to, they can make money on their own.
I think what we should do is, first, without even thinking about the loan, I think 6 years at least in alimony for my client to be able to go on with her business and with the children. I think we need at least 6 years without even thinking about the loan repayment.
15 years, because at that point, my client will be 15. They can work, my client's youngest daughter, Sally, will be 15, almost going to 16.
Right.
That child can work.
Right.
Yes,
that's fine.
And whatever it means, she at that point she can buy her own stuff at the store and, go clothes, go with her friends.
Yeah,
the extra little things that
works. I think, but now looking at, 6 years, bottom line.
Alimony. So that's going to be
8,000
times 6.
8,000 times 6. You want that number? 40 what?
6 times 8 is 48.
Yeah, right. 48,000 in 6 years.
So in total, between alimony and child support, 117,000 plus 4,800,000.
That's like around 165.
Yes.
But this is over a long period of time.
Over 9 years.
Yeah. So. But now looking with the loan, I think it should go to.
Now I'm thinking that because we're selling this home, my client really didn't want to sell that home. $500,000 is a substantial amount of money that none of us were really expecting to come out of this negotiation with.
Right.
Because in the long run, my client really wanted to keep it. Your client was open to selling it, open to keeping it. So it wasn't a designated outcome we were going to sell that home.
Okay.
I think that because we're making a lot of money, they're making a lot of money off of this, we can negate that's $25,000 because that's well more than what both of our clients will be making in the next 5 years.
Okay, I think alright, I understand. Yes, I agree. I think my client would be willing to forget that loan if your client paid alimony for 7 to 8 years. Because we're originally doing 6. So the second daughter is still, so how about we do 8% of your client's salary until the child
is 16.
Is 6.
The youngest child is 16.
Well, let's do it
years.
until, yes, that'll be 7 years. That'll be 7 years?
7 years out, several years. Which isn't something that my client would like to do, but, several years, until they're 16, they can, you're pretty much at that time, you're probably an adult.
I think in order for my client to forget about the loan, I need alimony until the first child is 18. The second child is 18 years old.
That's 9 years.
Yes.
I mean,
can you just give me 1 second? I
sure.
have a phone call to make really quick. Sorry about that. Anyway, where were we? Okay, yeah, so, how many years? What do you think?
I'm very adamant about, we didn't really want to, my client did not want to go above 5%. I'm given, a substantial amount of money to begin with in child support. I'm thinking till 7 years is enough. Especially because at that point, both of our clients will be going separate ways, relationship-wise, business-wise. I think that at that point, there's a clear light at the end of the tunnel and we can...
So 7 years is when the first child will be 18 or
no,
second?
Second child will be 16.
Okay.
The first child will already be 18, so it won't be paying alimony for that child anymore.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. So let me write up the agreement. So $8,000 for 6 years.
Yeah, so $8,000 for 6 years, and then on the last year, the 7th year, they're only going to pay $4,000.
For 1 year after.
For 1 year after.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not as much as my client would be getting in the long run if your client had to pay back that loan, but hopefully. I guess it's something that we could agree to.
Yeah. Because it'd be more than what you would be willing to take away, because it'd be more than $25,000 at that point. But it would be close enough to. It'd be close enough to 50 where she wouldn't, because we brought down to 25.
But it wouldn't be. That's not true, because my client will be using this money towards the children. It's not going to be a repayment to her. It's not to herself. It's something towards the children. It's not money that's going to be sitting there. For her use.
Everything's. In alimony, technically, you want everything to go towards the children, but in reality, a lot of times alimony goes towards other things.
Right, but it's not that. Yeah, it's not. But it's at the same time, it's not that enough money for her to be sitting here. You know what I mean? Like $4,000 per child for a whole year. Mm-hmm. Is not very much money, and you look at it in the grand scheme of things. Clothes, things, daily things.
Yeah. That's plus child support. So 8% for 8% for 6 years, 4% for the last 7 year for the last child.
Okay.
Plus, we're doing child support. I think that your client's gonna wind up, doing well in the long run. My client, he's not gonna be broke. So then at that point. He can't pay for what it is,
Right.
He can't pay for it.
All right, so my client originally makes $25,000 and then is making around $16,000 for the child support and then $8,000 a year. So that's around $49,000. So, I think she's not going to be living large, but I think it's doable. and the money from the settlement of the house,
which we'll both be getting.
Right. I think it's something to start them both off well, so that you're trying to start in life. My client can work on the business and keep the kids the same way they always have been. And I mean, I think it looks pretty good to me.
I think we did well.
I think we did well as well.
I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to, speak to our clients after this, and
But we can write up the agreement.
We'll write up this agreement right after.
See what they think,
and we'll see what they think, and we get it. In the long run, we can always come back and negotiate other things.
Yes, I think the way we decided the vacation house, the regular home,
the antiques,
the alimony and the child support. I mean, I think it's something that both of our clients are willing to make compromises on. I mean, it's two people here with very different thoughts on things, and I think this is the best
for their family.
Yeah, best for their family, exactly.
All right, so it was great doing business with you, Victoria.
You too, Liz.
And we'll go back to your office and we'll write this up.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, what was that video?
Hold on.